Hey everybody, I'm Severely Mame, and today I'm going to take you on a quick stitch project. We're going to be covering shoulder pads to have the authentic 40s look inside of our garment. I am first taking my pre-made shoulder pads and tracing them out on some butcher paper. You can obviously use whatever pattern making paper you have around. Wrapping paper works great. Regular computer paper is fine because this is a small piece. First, I am just tracing around this shoulder pad. Now, these are not expertly made shoulder pads, so they are not particularly perfectly even, but they do what they need to do, which is add a little extra to the shoulders of my garments. Now, I have huge lined backer shoulders, but that really works in my favor for vintage garments. So, now that I've traced that out, I'm going to straighten off this edge. This edge will be the fold of the fabric. But because this isn't just a flat piece of material, I'm going to have to add a 1/2 inch. I originally added 3/4 and realized that was too much. So you're just adding 1/2 inch all the way around this shape. I square off the corners with right angles so that when they're folded, they'll match up correctly. And then I continue to add a 1/2 inch all the way around the circle. Or half circle, I should say. You're going to be cutting this out on a fold, so it will become a full oval because it's not exactly circular. Your shoulder pads, maybe. I'm adding a 1/2 inch all around, rounding it out to be the correct shape. And this will give me more fabric than I need, but also will make up for the fact that there is height on these shoulder pads, so they are not completely flat, so you need a little excess. So I'm cutting out my paper pattern with my paper scissors. Don't forget to not use your fabric scissors on something like this. And I am just making sure it's about the right size. Judging off those shoulder pads, it looks like it will work. So now it is time to get my fabric ready. I am trying to use as little fabric as possible, so I can use my scraps for other things. So I'm going to put this on a fold because I need it to be a full oval, not just a half. And then I will pin this down and cut it out. Don't be like me and cut out wrinkled fabric, so please iron your fabric before you cut anything out. Because this is such a small piece, I didn't, but you should, and I know that I should have, especially because I'm showing you guys things. Also, sometimes wrinkles show up way more in video than they do in person. So here, like I said, I'm just cutting these out on a fold. It's very simple. I need 2 of them because I have 2 shoulder pads. And it's just simple. But I did want to show you guys because it's something I'll kind of quickly gloss over in longer form videos with full projects. I'll kind of just mention that I'm putting in shoulder pads. But I wanted to show you how I cover mine. There may be other methods of doing this. This is just how I do it because I buy the store-bought shoulder pads that I do. It's simple to just make a little pattern and cover them with excess fabric. Now these are cut out. I can put the rest of my fabric aside, take out these pins, struggle to put them into this pin cushion because it's usually on my wrist, but for some reason I kept it on the table. Now here they are unfolded, showing you the oval shape that they are, and I'm going to lay these shoulder pads into the center. Just like little babies all wrapped up. I did not see how crooked I was putting these on when I was doing it for some reason. Now looking at it from above, they're so crooked. So maybe be better about that than I was. But honestly, the edges all still meet up. It is the right size. And like I said, excess will be trimmed off. So what you're going to do is get the edges to meet and then pin these in place through the shoulder pad towards the edge. Now, I knew that I was going to take these out while I was sewing, so I just kind of put them in. However, I wish I would have put them in going the other direction so it would have been easier to grab them out as I go. But I'm acting like I've never done this before. I do this all the time, but whenever I do things on video, it always seems harder. So I'm going to pin these into place before I move over to the machine, and we'll get things going over there. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you love vintage sewing, clothing, knitting. I've got all kinds of stuff already on the channel and always more to come. If you really like what's going on here, you can follow the link below to my Patreon, where you can contribute to help make videos just like this happen. Now with that, let's move over to the sewing machine. Now I'm over at the sewing machine. First thing I'm going to do is a line of stitching just outside of the shoulder pad. This is going to make the little pocket that the shoulder pad is in. I'm not doing it too far away. You can kind of feel the edge of the shoulder pad as you go through it all. It's kind of a game of feeling, but it's not super terrible if you don't get it that close. This is why I do 2 lines of stitching, but here I encounter a problem that I don't notice for a second, which is that my thread is about to run out on my bobbin. So this first line is not super successful on this shoulder pad, but with that I'm noticing now that I had no thread left. So it's going to be pretty simple. All I have to do is take this out. Yep, just a couple inches left. So I'm now back stitching where I was and picking back up to continue this line around the edge. I could have cut out the part about losing my bobbin thread, but I'm just showing you that you can just double back over what you did last and finish it off still in any time when your bobbin runs out when you're sewing. So now I have finished that first line of stitching here on the first shoulder pad, making sure to take out all the pins now. Trimming all of my threads as I go because I used to not, and that's because I was a nightmare child. Now I'm far better about it because I realized I was creating far more work for myself by not just trimming them immediately. So you've got one sewn all the way around. Now you're going to go in about 1/4 of an inch and stitch through both layers of fabric and a little bit of the shoulder pad. This will keep it in place a little bit better, make sure it's a little more sturdy and doesn't shift around in the covering at all. And I always just like to have it a little more secure because I'm not using any like sewn finishing techniques here. It's nice to have the 2 lines of stitching. And with that, one shoulder pad is completely done. Once I trim these threads. So I got those all trimmed up. I'm figuring out camera angles for my sewing still. I think I have to get a tripod that can mount right onto my table. But we will see what I can find in the near future, because I think there'll be more videos at this sewing machine now that I've got it back in its table where it belongs. Now I'm on to the second shoulder pad, doing the same thing, running a stitch all the way around the outside edge of the shoulder pad first to create the pocket that it will live in. This is very simple, but it does give a really nice authentic look to your garments. And I know that nobody's seen the inside of our garments, but we do. And I like to have a nice inside. That's why I'm really big on pinking all of the edges of my seams and things like that, just to make sure everything is as nice as it can be. I want my pieces to last, and this is one of those things that you can do to really make your pieces look really nice and last as long as they can. This fabric is from Tila Linda. I can't show you the project that this is actually for yet, but you will see that later in the spring. So I've done my 1 round. Now I'm going to go back with the second stitch line. This is going to be about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in, and it's going to be going through both layers of fabric again and the shoulder pad edge. Like I said before, keeping it all together so that it stays in place inside of its covering and doesn't get smushed around to one side or something over time while you wear it. It's fairly simple a process, like I've said, but I think it's important that we all know how to do these things, because if it's a lined garment, it doesn't need it. But I don't make very many things that are lined. Only when I do like my vintage suit pieces do I line garments. I don't even particularly like lining dresses because I wear a slip, so I don't need to. So I cover shoulder pads fairly often for my projects. It just gives you that little bump of things being nicer when you've made them yourself. So there they are. They're sewn. We're going back over to the table now. What you're going to need is your pinking shears. So you can see that double line of stitching. I'm just going about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch away and trimming up these edges with my pinking shears so it won't fray. But with the pinking sheared edge, you are finished up with this project. It's a simple thing to do that can elevate any garment that you're making. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Severely Mame. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you love vintage and making content. It does me a favor, and you can catch more stuff just like this. Let me know down below if this is helpful to you, or if there's any other quick stitch type things that I've mentioned in past videos but haven't gone in depth on. I'd love to show you exactly how I do them like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.